It's the weekly 30-30 trading list on the ASX. We're looking at the 30 strongest momentum companies over the quarter and this week's 30 best launchpad stocks. They've got high velocity, they're fighting against the market's tide, and it's what we'd expect the market's next leaders to look like. They're companies that are building bases and resilient against the market falls. Gary Glover has scanned the 30-30 list and surfaced his favourites for the week. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Yeah, no, pretty good.
Good. You've had a great week. We've covered that on your Tuesday videos with your portfolio, and some of those shares we're surfacing in the list and some of those sectors and themes that you've touched on before. But if we start off with the momentum companies, you've got on screen here GAL, which is hard for anyone to miss in the last couple of weeks trading the ASX. Is that one of the momentum ones this week?
Yeah, so that's your that's the number one. That's the number one sort of stock here at the moment. So yeah, had a pretty big move here. So, but yeah, this is a bit of a gold miner which has had some pretty big strikes. So I was just sort of saying here, there's a couple of goldies next door to Galileo. Of one that I was lucky enough to be holding, which has had a pretty good run as well. So not as good as this one, but yeah, this is obviously one stock which has had a pretty good run, but always hard to trade these sort of ones because you're pretty small, pretty speculative. You get a couple of hits and then they're drilling holes, and anything really can happen here. So not sure I'll be chasing this one here after these sort of moves, but definitely had some big strikes there, and there's still more drilling to go. But yes, some of these smalls can move, but no surprise to see that number one. The other one there was number two. As well, look pretty interesting to me as well. That's Conico Limited, which is sort of, just because we're sort of coming off a pretty low number, don't really like sort of one or 2 cent sort of stocks here. I generally sort of keep away from those, but yeah, some reasonable volume there. So kind of interesting there. Sort of maybe it's about sort of watching, see how it consolidates there, but definitely had a bit of a jump there. And then just our usually, I think number 3 is a coal stock, number 4 is a coal stock, iron ore. So we're sort of getting a few of those classics in there. I think HIO was only one that I sort of thought was interesting there, just because it had a big pop and then had basically, you can see how these things cool off here. I mean, we've gone from $1.08 down to 42 cents, 43 cents there, so they really can cool off. That's the risk of some of these ones, the big movers. Once we talked about previously, these leading stocks, once they're done, they can have big corrections. But this is interesting here because it's had a decent leg down and a bit of a bounce and another leg down and then trying to rally here. So it looks like I might try and do something here, but still pretty risky, still sort of late stage here. But yeah, I did find it interesting there. We talked about the coal stocks there last week. I sort of said most of them still look okay here. The only one that worried me the most was New Hope, because this correction there was what I call like an overbalance. It was the biggest correction of the whole move. So what often happens after something like that is they can come back up into the range and make a first lower high and then start to go down, or in some cases they actually go and make a slight new high there, like a little false break here. And that's something to watch for. If we get a false break here, you got to watch really closely for those. So just noticed we definitely saw a little bit of selling there a couple of days ago when some of those gold stocks come off quite a bit. So New Hope, big wide range there. That's always a bit of a worry because that's a change in behaviour. Even Whitehaven had a pretty wide, although the corrections are still pretty small, there's a possible change in behaviour as well. It's the first decent sort of sell down day was seen, first decent volume as well. So really some first signs there of weakness there for what's been a pretty robust sector. So if I was long a few of these coal stocks there, I'd just be tightening up my stop here now, just because some of the price action is starting to sort of show some concerns here. What else was there? There was CXO was on the list, I think, number 14. That doesn't look too bad there. Again, we've just only negative there is we did have a pretty large correction, but still part of the overall trend, slightly larger than the last one. But we haven't seen much volume come in here. I mean, we can go up and do a fifth wave on light volume, but not not too much volume coming in here so far, but still hanging in there, so still doesn't look too bad.
They weren't the only lithium company in the list, so there's a few of them sort of sitting around.
Yeah, that's right.
level.
So FFX doesn't look too bad as well. So again, they have corrected back here. They're just always on a mindful how they treat the 50 as well. So actually cracking the 50 is always a bit negative. Going back above here. So sometimes they go back to the 50 like here and then fail. In this case here, look like we're sort of pushing through there. So that's not a bad sign there. So
Mind you, the list was run last night before the breakout that we can see on that candle there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. One stock that so that's just some of those lithium sort of players are back on there. But yeah, just whether they can sort of really push on or not there. So the volume's a bit light, but sometimes the fifth wave or the last wave can be light volume as well. So can't rule it out just because there's light volume, but it does it just does add a bit of caution there if there's no volume there. Codan was one of the things I thought was pretty interesting actually, because I was watching this on the on the daily and weekly there, and this whole thing here had been sort of congested. The one thing we saw here, we saw this little break above the previous. Obviously this is like swing low, so no swing low broken here, and we saw actually a change of character here, in that we've broken this sort of swing high there, even though it's come back in. And then after that, we got a really impulsive move here on big volume. We actually got a pretty positive update from the company. So that's a bit of a change of character, and we got basically a change in maybe I guess a fundamental driver as well. So this one's pretty interesting here. So I think Codan's actually not a bad company there. It's had a pretty deep correction as well. Some good volume down here. So this is definitely one to sort of keep an eye on here, because we might have a little change in character there for the stock there. Polynovo is on our list, which we've featured the last few weeks. So it's just sort of holding tight here. So good drive on volume. We want to see volume nice and light here, which we've sort of seen so far. Can't really get going here, but I do like the fact that this is impulsive, taking out some swing highs, good volume, and then we've sort of held up pretty tight here. So we haven't even come back probably half the range there. If we overlaid a Fibonacci there, that might be like a 38.2, So it's actually, it hasn't basically sort of given up too much price there, which is constructive. So that looks quite good. The other one actually looks quite good on AGL, and I was actually going to message you a couple of days ago regarding this one, Chris, because this is our little cup and handle here. So
yeah,
this is
William
like
O'Neill's favorite.
Yeah, so David Ryan, who's one of the worked for O'Neill, I think won the US trading. He's won the US investing championship there a couple of times. I might have won it 3 times, I think, from memory. He talks about this pattern all the time. Basically, this little cup and this handle there, and he talks about this tightening pattern there. So if you get this little tightening pattern here, just underneath the, just underneath the high here, he looks for this sort of setup here. So it's pretty interesting here. Obviously, there's got this demerger they're trying to get underway. Got Cannon Brooks obviously adding to his stake here. So, but put all the noise aside here, the actual chart is actually is pretty positive. And then we saw some decent volume here as well. So the fact that it's gone through the little handle, it actually is quite positive. It'd just be interesting whether, just got to watch here. You might get something short-lived, but normally this little pattern here, you normally get a bit of a pop. So, I thought this
used a bit of a Polkowski measurement rule. Would it go measure from the 880, the high sort of in mid-April, down to that low around $8?
Yeah.
So about 80 cents, and then would the measure of rule say add 80 cents thereabouts to the breakout point?
Yeah, I'm not sure actually what the measurement rule is there. I probably would just use that measurement myself, the 80 cents. So we should have us around 960. So around 960, which is a pretty decent move. Yeah, I don't know if it'd be that. I'm not sure that, but
not in this market. Maybe 75% of that.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a nice. This is just this little classic pattern here. Just like really caught my eye the other day. I thought, well, okay, because I obviously sort of have a few clients who hold AGL, and I was looking at probably writing a call here because I sort of think Cannon Brooks was talking about, he's only talking about 880 he would go to, but he hasn't been too honest the whole time. He's sort of been playing a few gamesmanships there. So why can't this get bid for maybe at 9 or maybe 940? Who knows? But all I know is the chart looks pretty interesting. But I'll definitely be running tight stop here. But it this could get interesting here the next few days. So definitely one to keep an eye on. That was kind of it for the momentum list there. I'd say like everything, there wasn't too much sort of new in there. Just be careful with those coal stocks. Again, probably no reason to sell them, obviously with the energy crisis there, but that's but the charts are just telling us, price action telling us to be a bit cautious here.
Okay, so that's the strongest momentum companies that are pushing and leading the market higher. Obviously, some really nice charts there. What if we try and look for opportunities within the market? They're building a base. Maybe they haven't quite run just yet. They're like that high velocity launch pad. Were there any in that list that caught your eye?
Yeah, I mean, again, the sort of, I should probably throw Appen up here because that's pretty hilarious. But so obviously this one's sort of trading on its knees there in that sort of tech space. But then obviously there was talk about a bidder and then a downgrade the following day. So I guess when you sort of see the I'm not sure what the terminology there is. The non-binding sort of type of approach. You've got to be careful of those ones. So we've seen a few there. I think Brambles might have had one recently, and just to always cautious there when I sort of see some of these non-binding, particularly in these sort of markets as well. So just be careful with those there. When you sort of see them trade nowhere near the bid, then you know that there might be an issue. You should be asking
doubt in the market.
You should be asking why isn't it trading near the bid? And that should be a bit of a red light for you. Yeah. One that I quite like there was again that Coda there was a big sort of mover there. Obviously had that big jump there, big volume there. So that's pretty interesting just because we've got a big jump in volume. A few gold stocks in there, which I think we've had a few. I think Perseus, Regis, Evolution. So nice sort of jump in some of these stock here. So had a bit of a move there. Some not bad volume through as well. So for Perseus there, I think Regis Well's not bad volume. Obviously still pretty messy charts here, but if we do sort of scale out there, we can sort of see this has been a downtrend for a while. Possible change of character because we've basically broken the, all the way down here. We didn't break a swing high, and then we finally did break one, and we've had a bit of a rally, and then it come back here. Maybe this is the second high or low. Maybe we can build something here. So possible change of character took place here, and come back and get a retest because obviously markets don't go sort of straight up here. So that's sort of definitely gold's pretty interesting to me. I mean, I really like the evolution. That's the one that I've actually gone there just because I really like this tightening pattern here, and we're so close to the old low here, Chris, as well. So if I could buy this close to here, then my risk is low. So if I'm buying it, buying it down in here, which I was. I got my stop down in here. Then if I'm wrong, I'm not losing too much. I mean, if I'm right and it goes up here, there's a big move here. But the volume's not bad. The volume was pretty good at the last low. It's good here now. So some of the gold stocks are pretty interesting to me just because I've had a reasonable jump there. And the last rally, you can see the last rally, there was actually reasonable volume in the last rally as well. So there could be just a bit of a base here forming. Like we've sort of got a low here and a higher low and a second higher low. So, but just in this market here, you got to control your risk. That's the key, I think. So, but yeah, definitely there's quite a few of those golds on the list there, which are pretty interesting to me. I think IGO was on our list as well. Again, another one of these sort of sort of new metals there that sort of looks kind of positive there. Volume's not bad, so that's pretty tidy volume sort of seen down here the lows here. That can move there, and I think the other one was PLS there, Pilbara as well. That doesn't look too bad as well. So now we've sort of got above the 50. Volume's a bit lighter here, but I mean this is a big ABC, so that can be, you can get, once you get three-wave corrections there, you can get going again, but volume's a little light here, so that's probably a bit of a concern. So some of those sort of a bit lighter than others. Some of them have actually got some reasonable volume there. Just a few in there. I know some of the uranium stocks as well starting to move up. So again, we've sort of come back and retested the low there. Didn't get going last time. So I guess uranium's a little bit like gold here. It's sort of been more stuck in a range. But again, we've had a bit of a bounce here. But again, this is still a bit of a grind here, Chris. Volume's not awesome either. So maybe.
And do you also look at the time on that? So the speed at which it fell down to that recent low was a couple of days.
Yeah.
And what do you look at on the other side of the equation?
Well, so look, I mean, look how, when the market wants to go up here, look how quickly it goes up. Even here it goes up fast. When it's a bit of a grind, takes its time, or even this sort of stuff here, they just don't have that big moves. And when you've got no volume behind it as well, I mean, they can pop back up in the range here, but when I see these low volume moves here like this, usually just means it's just going to be a bit of a, this would have me, if I was long this here, I would be running super tight stops here because this is no volume behind it. Whereas if I had big volume there, then I'm more confident we're going to get something with a bit of legs. Just historically, I know, me personally, big volume means we can get a big move. If it's low volume, we get a low type of move. So yeah. So if you've been running for a while and your last leg, the last leg is still go up in light volume, but it really needs to be sort of, that trend needs to be sort of holding as well. I thought this was interesting here. This is probably Altium there, which is probably a bit like APX there, and that's just got to be careful here. Obviously, it's probably more an exhaustion of the downtrend. Seeing a bit of a bounce here, but they're still in a pretty strong downtrend there at the moment. So just got to be careful not to fight the trend there. We're still way under the 50-day moving average, so this still sort of spells of risk to me. So it's not one trade that I would take there just on that basis there. So just got to be careful. Some of these other ones, I think 360 was sort of one that I thought was interesting here, but again, look at this bounce here, Chris. That's people might say I'm starting to build something here. You might be right, but there's no volume in this move here. It's a grind. It's a real sort of grind here, So this is not how sort of, usually once you get a low end and you start to move up, it's usually sort of impulsive, or it's it's a bit more constructive. So this means it just might base here for a while. So, but this is not the type of thing that we should be trading here, in my opinion. When you sort of see a move like it's sort of struggled like that on low volume. So, yeah. So there's not too much in there. Move. Yeah, that's right. So I think even Xero's as well. Again, we've had a bit of a rally here. So this is not too bad. At least we saw an exhaustion of that was the biggest volume day down. So that can basically exhaust the down move here. But then you might just get a counter move here. I mean, really, this thing's just sort of sat. So far, it's just sat underneath the previous swing low. So when I see a rally that just sits under the previous swing low, that's still, we're still under 50 moving average. We're still under the previous low. Yeah, it just might have exhausted the sellers here for the short term. So each market takes time here. So I wouldn't be trying to jump in, pick these lows here. I'll be wanting to sort of see something a bit more constructive, something build there. And I'd rather wait until I'm right than try and pick the lows on these things, because that's how you can get in trouble there. Even sort of Fortescue as well. I mean, everyone's pretty keen on still commodities here, but at the end of the day, we've got a high in place here now. We've got a first lower high, another lower high, another lower high, another lower high. So just got to be a little careful here. So starting to see some of these commodity stocks there actually show a little bit of weakness there. And just a series of lower highs starting to sort of develop there. So just got to be cautious. Some of those stocks there. That's about it there. Not too many great triggers on the long side. Probably just a few. I thought Coda looked interesting. Some of the golds look interesting, and some of the lithium stocks are sort of having this a push as well here. So those are probably the sectors to have a close eye on. Just be careful with the volumes on those lithium stocks, because some of those are pretty light. So so just make sure we probably run a tight stop on those. that's about it.
Very good. Well, that's a great insight for the week and a great insight across the charts, what to trade, what not to trade, the sectors to look for, and what to avoid. So thank you again, Gary Glover from Novus Capital.
Thanks, Chris.
And if you want to watch a video about some of the trading tutorials of the patterns that Gary's talked about, you can click on the screen, and you can also see more of Gary's updates in his Tuesday video on the playlist on the screen there to the right as well.